Now, whether you've hurt somebody else's feelings and you are or not aware of it, and that person may have some kind of a grudge, which is kind of like in Hebrew called a kapedah. And this is kind of a blockage also, emotionally and spiritually. And both of you have that. Actually, it's appropriate always to not nurse or bear a grudge, to forgive people even before they ask us. There's a special prayer for that before we go to sleep at night. But for some reason the person hasn't done that. He might forgive if he's asked to do so. That might evoke from him the sense of forgiveness and make it easier for him. And the person who has still has some kind of grudge or resentment against others, this is kind of an exile. The person is trapped in that, and it's not a good thing. And at the same time, the one who also has harmed someone else and has yet to receive forgiveness is also kind of in exile. And they can both be freed from it with the apology and the request for mechila, which means forgiveness. A wonderful word, actually, mechila. It also means a complete circle. You know, it's there's something called a machul. A machol, it's a dance when people hold hands in a circle. And machol means it's a closed circle. When you ask mechila, you're doing the same thing. You're closing the circle. There's some kind of fissure, some kind of hole in the circle. And by asking for forgiveness, you're asking that the fissure be healed somehow or other. And indeed, there may be all kinds of good things and blessings that may already be determined for the person, but on their journey from the upper worlds and as they are meant to become transformed in material blessings in this world, there can be barriers there. In the Kabbalah, they're sometimes called dinim, which means judgments, which is not like saying the person doesn't deserve it. On the contrary, because of the good things he has done, he's meant to get these things. But the kapedah, the grudge and resentment that he feels that someone having done something to him could block it. And by the same token, the person who did something and didn't yet ask for forgiveness could also have his blessings blocked. And so we find that by asking and receiving and giving forgiveness all the way around, both people can remove this blockage and get the blessings which they were meant to get. This is not some kind of hocus pocus on the end of it. You know, it's not like, you're pressing a button. There are many stories that illustrate this point. In general, there's a story about a couple in time of the Chayz of Lublin, well over 100 years ago. They were childless. And the Chayz, as his name implies, was a clairvoyant. And he told them that when you were looking for a shidduch, a match, you turned down one girl and she was heartbroken. When one decides to discontinue a shidduch, the dating meeting before deciding to get married, it is deregur, it is necessary to ask for forgiveness. And this first person didn't do that, and the woman never got over it. Her name was Esther Shifra. He told the man, the Chozeh, the great rabbi, if you go to Balta, where there's now a big fair going on, you'll find her there. Ask for forgiveness, and you will see that you'll be blessed with a child, because indeed is this resentment and hurt that was done that is blocking your blessings. Rabbi Yosef went to Balta, looked all around for Esther Shifra, asked all around for Esther Shifra, could not find her. At one point, in desperation, he just wandered the streets aimlessly. It started to be a downpour, and he took cover under a small roof. And the lady next to him also took cover, said that here's the man that refused to marry me. She recognized him right away. And he said, indeed, I know that I hurt you. The great rabbi, the Chozeh, told me that I need to get your forgiveness. And she said, I can only do this on one condition, and that is my brother is very poor. He needs 200 gold coins to marry off his daughter. Go to Suvalk and bring him the 200 gold coins, and on this condition I will forgive you. The man sold his possessions and borrowed and everything possible, but with a light heart, realizing that the plan proposed by his rabbi, the Chozeh, had come to fruition, went to Suvalk, found the pauper, who was enormously relieved, and rejoiced that he was now able to marry off his daughter, since he will use the 200 gold coins for the dowry. How did this happen? He says, well, your sister told me to find you here. And he said, I don't understand that. My sister died many years ago. When he described the incident, the man had to admit that it fit the description. And somehow, in some way, she returned from the afterworld to forgive her former shidduch, and in this way, he was blessed with children a year later. It's a more recent story. I actually know the people involved, which illustrates how both sides can become liberated from this problem. There was a fine Jew, Shmuel Kaufman. He lived in Detroit, not of the Hasidic persuasion, became friendly with the Lubavitcher Chassid, and after he had been childless for a couple of years, his friend, Rabbi Avdson, suggested that they go to the Rebbe. There they had Yechidus, and the Rebbe asked several questions. And then the Rebbe said, is it possible that you ever dated a girl, made her think you were interested, and then broke up without asking the proper forgiveness, the proper mechila? And first he did not remember it, but his father said, look, the Rebbe is asking. Think hard, and indeed he remembered there was a girl he went on a date. He was not interested in her. He did, however, lend her a sweater during the date, which led her to believe that he was. And then the shidduch was interrupted without the proper asking of forgiveness. And he realized the Rebbe was right. And the Rebbe said, you have to find her and ask for her forgiveness. And this will create a vessel for you to have a child. He says, what if she doesn't want to forgive me? Well, then you should tell him, you should tell her that the Rebbe of Lubavitch said that if she forgives you, she will find her bashert, which means she will find also a partner, because she still had not found also a partner in life, just as the Shmuel Kaufman and his wife had not had children. And he finally found the phone number of the brother. He called the brother, described the situation. The brother said, she is right here. She indeed was not very anxious to forgive him, but when he told her this was an instruction from the Rebbe of Lubavitch, and that if she agrees, she will also find a shidduch, she will find a soulmate whom to marry. She forgave him with a full heart. Sometime later, there was a phone call, and someone said, this girl is engaged. And she was going to be married now. He knew that half of the deal was fulfilled already. She forgave him, and she was indeed blessed with finding a shidduch. And sure enough, less than a year later, they had their first child. And so we see here the galut, the exile of both of them. They became redeemed from it through this process of asking for forgiveness and granting forgiveness. And may all of us also get all the blessings that we need to get, and always try to keep a clear conscience and forgive others when they ask for it, and to ask for forgiveness when we feel we have hurt others.